Isn't it great to be here, everybody? Don't you have the greatest time? We're really excited that she actually gave us the platform here to talk about the future of education. And it was here at DLD in the year, and I've got this up my sleeve here, 2009, that the serial entrepreneur Shire Chef announced his dream. And he said, there are about 100 million people in the world that want to have access to a university degree, but they have little or no way to ever get there. So he wanted to create a university for the people and called it the University of the People. And he created an online university where that is actually tuition-free, where you can get either a business degree or a computer science degree at the bachelor level or at the master level. At this stage, we have 33,000 volunteers. Some of the world's best professors, some Nobel laureates are teaching at the school. We have 120,000 students today. And we have 12,000 almost refugees, which is probably more than any other university combined. Lots of them came from countries like Syria, and thanks to people like Valerie here in the audience, we got help from the German government to translate the curriculum also into Arabic. We have a lot of students from Myanmar, Afghanistan, and now, of course, also from the Ukraine. So he planted a little seed here to create a real solution for real people addressing real needs. And I think this is what it's all about when we think about education. The world is changing at a speed that we can't comprehend. We're really transitioning from an old world where we knew the rules to a new world that we don't really understand. I don't think anybody knows what the world of work or the future of work really looks like in 2030, let alone 2040. So what is it that we have to do to get our kids ready or ourselves? We always talk about lifelong learning, but I think we should talk about lifelong skills, because you can learn as much as you want and you still don't know anything in oftentimes. And so it's really about skilling up. What type of skills do we need? And here to discuss that with me today are two phenomenal experts from Estonia, a country that really does still, I think, a lot better job than many other countries. Karin Künnapas leads a school, a coding school, the Jõhvi Code School. She'll tell us all about its innovative and new concept, and her backer is here as well, one of the sponsors of this idea, who came together with others. He's the #1 employee at Skype. He was the co-creator of Transferwise and Wise. He's a serial investor, a serial entrepreneur, and he's really trying also to change the education landscape, Taavet Hinrikus. So please give him a warm welcome. So Taavet, if I may start with you. Skype was a humongous disruptor of the communications industry, and Transferwise disrupted the banking industry. So at the time, what type of skills, when you hired employees, were you looking for in order to really make that happen? And how has this now changed over time with the changing business models and the technology developments?
I actually think the skills have been quite similar through the past decade. Like, we're looking for people who are great at communication, people who are great at teamwork, people who are good at learning. Like, you can go to Khan Academy and refresh yourself on the math concepts. You don't need to have spent years memorizing these. So looking for people who know how to learn. However, I don't think that's what the school system is producing.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, if we do take a look at the school system, I think sometimes it's archaic or left in the last century almost. I mean, it's standardized, it's not individualized, it's about regurgitating information or just memorizing knowledge rather than asking. So can it reinvent itself? Can it revolutionize itself? Or do we need to build alternative structure and make it obsolete? I mean, it's a little bit radical, or is it somewhere in between?
I think it's probably somewhere in between. Like, I'm not sure actually that universities are going to be needed for everyone anymore. Like, maybe the schools that you're working on, the university, maybe that's.
Who knows? No, I mean, but we don't know what it's going to.
But I rather think we need shorter more interactive educational programs that give people more practical skills. Like, we look at someone who comes out of a uni, and oftentimes in the end they don't still know what to. They still don't have any real skills. So, of course, we can't talk about general solutions for everyone, like different solutions for different groups of people. But it's the reason and actually I let Karin speak about the reasons we did coding school in Estonia, but really about how to fix a gap in the market.
All right. Karin, I think this is a good time for you to tell us just a little bit about your school and why it's so different.
So yeah, CodeUfc is the new programming school that was launched in Estonia last year. And what actually makes it really special is that we don't have teachers, we don't have classes, and it's free for the students. And all the studying is done in a self-learning computer program. Everything is very practical. So from day one, the students start solving coding tasks. About 80% of them, they have to do with somebody else. So they have to do teamwork. In addition to coding, they also have to know how to read code because they have to audit what others are writing. So everything is really practical and kind of simulates what will happen if they go and work in the field. And where the school idea came from, Taavet was one of the founders, and some 7 other Estonian entrepreneurs basically saw a gap in the market that we need a lot of people who know how to code. And there's some coming from vocational education and universities. And sometimes, if they come out of universities, they have learned a lot of different kind of subjects, but they haven't had that much practical coding. So they go to work, and they don't know how to do it. So, and also this kind of traditional education doesn't work for everybody. So new kind of methods were needed, and that's where CodeUfc came from. So this kind of practical need to give new opportunities and educate new coders.
So can you take me through the application process? Say I'm a 49-year-old assembly line worker who wants a second career, and I think this is of interest to me. Can I apply, or how
Yes, you can. Basically, everybody who's at least 18 and have basic education can apply, but the application process is also a bit different. So the first step is this 1.5-hour online game that tests your logical skills, logical thinking, because the game doesn't have many instructions, so you need to figure out yourself how to do it. You also can't pause it, so you actually have to commit that 1.5 hours already at the first go. And then the best ones from that game, we invite for 3 weeks on site, where they start coding. So from day one, they see the methodology, they meet other students, they see what coding is about. So with these 3 weeks, they already get this practical experience, see if this school would be something for them, and then the best ones we accept. And I think that's a really interesting way how to find new students, because they already understand what they're getting themselves into. And even if they don't get into school, they have learned to program for 3 weeks, and they have the skills like a baseline, and if they want, they can continue studying from there.
And do you find, maybe to have one question, when you decided to create a school for 18 and older, I mean, all we read all the time is, we need to start in kindergarten and we need to start on early age to excite people. How does that play age-wise? Do you think we need to start different smaller programs beforehand, and then this is the big sort of replacement of the university degree?
I think that so kids who are growing up now, they will inevitably acquire technology skills as they're growing up. I mean, of course, there should be coding as part of education before as well, but we're talking about the people who are already on the job market. And for a lot of these people, these jobs they have today will not exist. We think if we forecast how AI will go, like a lot of these jobs will not exist in 10, 15 years. So we're really giving people an opportunity to learn technology skills. And it is fantastic to see lots of people who are studying right now amongst the first 200 people who are actually really good at their career. Like we have someone who was an architect in the Estonian army. But he was at the top of his job there, and he knew there's nowhere else to go. So he was coming to learn technology skills, and his key question was, hey, can you guarantee to me that after graduation I will have a job which pays me more than I was getting at the Estonian army? Of course, we can't guarantee it, but that's a hypothesis that these people coming out with having acquired technology skills will be able to get well-paying jobs afterwards.
Yeah, so you do this now as an employer. Actually, not normally employers fund the skills development of their own employees. And so do you think so in the future we have to really look towards companies to also basically fund the development of future talent outside of their company, so they even have a potential that they can hire?
I mean, Yes and no. Like on one side, we could say that, hey, like, dear government, please make this happen for us. But we were all entrepreneurs, and we were like, we have a huge skills gap. We have a people gap. We need more people with technology skills. So yes, universities produce them, but we were just like, hey, we'll do something to help ourselves. Otherwise, we'll keep on complaining, and that's not the nature of entrepreneurship, to just stay there and complain.
Okay, so just to get a feel, it's the first year. How many actually people took the test? How many went through the first sprint, and how many in the end are you?
We had more than 3,000 people actually doing the first test, so it was 3,300. We invited about 600 to the test, and we accepted about 200. And it's really interesting also that the students are so different. As Taavet mentioned, that we have somebody who's an architect. The average age is 27, but we have had people from 18 to 62, different backgrounds. Some people come from basic education. Some people have worked in a really high career. For example, we have a lawyer who now decided he wants to learn to code. We also have a chef. We have a firefighter who's actually one of the top coders at the moment in the school. So that makes it super interesting for us. And also, I think, shows that coding is something that everybody could learn. It's more about your willingness to put the time in, your logical thinking, but this will open so many career paths to you in the future.
So you were saying earlier on, one of the specifics about the school is there are no teachers. Now, normally you would think coding is quite complex subject matter, and there must be somebody that explains this. If this approach works for such a complex matter, what about other areas? I mean, could you envision the same type of school, the chemistry, even maybe a school of medicine? I don't know. There's some practical experience where probably somebody has to show you how to operate on a person. I probably would feel better if they'd seen that on the job. But you understand where I'm going.
Yeah.
Is that sort of where we're going to go?
I think definitely this kind of peer-to-peer learning. So it's not that one-way communication that you have a teacher in front of the class who's explaining and you're writing down and trying to memorize it. A lot of it is just about talking with others and trying to explain to others also. So that means that, do you actually understand? Are you able to explain it to others?
Yes.
And I think that's a big thing that's missing in the education system at the moment. Yeah, we learn the facts or we learn a formula, but do you actually understand what's behind it and how it works? So in the school we kind of have a saying that, yeah, we don't have teachers, so if you don't understand something, turn to your left, ask from the person there, turn to right, ask from there, and if that doesn't happen, then there's Google, just Google. And a lot of writing code is actually finding solutions on Google.
Okay. I think teaching as it used to be, the teacher stands up and tells the same things they've been telling every year. I don't think there's a long future for this. Well, probably it will still, given how slowly education changes, it'll happen for a long time. But that's not a very efficient use of anyone's time, I think. There are better ways of doing this. Recorded lectures, etc. And teachers should be there to help students, not to keep telling the same things that they've been doing for years. And also, I don't think there is any country in the world where we have too many teachers. I think in most places there's actually a problem. We don't have enough teachers. So I think we have to be creative about alternatives.
One thing I'd also be interested in, when you put that mission together, this is a lot about coding. We know that we want to diversify the world of coding. We also know that we really want to use coding for good in order to really use these solutions to make it a better world in the end. So what role, when you put all of your mission together, did ethics in AI, for example, or sustainability play? And how does that play out?
I think we're probably still a couple steps before that, and as the curriculum enriches, I think there is a lot more around that we have to think about.
And the system that you applied was Zero1 Education, and that is a proven system that's already used in other schools around the world.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
There's basically the base of this kind of methodology was launched in 2012 in France, and there's about 30 schools around the world who are using similar kind of methodology. So the Zero1 that we are using is a newer version of it, and there are multiple schools. There's more than 40,000 people who have actually gone through the program, and the employment rate has been quite high, so it is a proven system, I would say.
Okay. Yeah,
I mean, for us, I see the big test will be next year when the people graduate, and actually how many of them get these well-paying jobs.
Yeah.
So we either took 200 people and screwed up their lives, or the 200 people will actually get their dream jobs. We'll know next year.
I mean,
come back.
That's the question. I mean, they will come with a certificate that probably say this German student went to Estonia to go to the great school, comes back to Germany, and then the manager at the Mittelstand company will say, I don't know. The competency-based hiring isn't mainstream yet. I assume it will become much more mainstream. So we probably also have to do something a little bit as an international community to make sure that these type of certificates then are valued.
I mean, we'd love to have a CodeUfc Germany here, and if we have 1,000 similar schools in the future, then I think this certificate will be very, very well respected.
So if I love this idea, and if I were to say, look, we're going to find some people here in the room and here at this conference who will back the same idea. I mean, you came together with some of your fellow entrepreneurs and other companies and maybe other institutions, and you created this, and there's no reason why we can't do that here. Could we sort of take a blueprint of what you're doing and apply it here, and then can you talk a little bit about the cost of how much is the average cost per student for the whole process, or just so that we get an idea of?
So basically, what the main costs for students are the license for the program. We also provide them with computers if they need them, and actually health insurance, because the Estonian system is, according to the Estonian system, at the moment we are not the official education institution, so we're additional education for adults, and that doesn't guarantee government health insurance, so we have to provide that. And the other costs are basically just like maintenance cost for the building where we're at and the team. So again, compared to traditional education, we are able to run the school with a very small team and with really low maintenance costs, because our team is basically 5.5 people at the moment, and we have almost 200 students.
Okay.
Like if there are people in Germany who want to do it, we're super happy to work with them. Or it doesn't have to be Germany. It can be Norway or France.
Yeah.
Or
because oftentimes you read about those future skills and teamwork and collaboration and creativity, and I always wondered, how do you teach empathy to somebody? I mean, how do you? But what you describe, I mean, in a way, I'm sure that you also see people's development or your students' development as they come together, and this is the way to actually solve the problems that they've been given.
Yeah, and also we're putting quite a lot of emphasis on these kind of soft skills, because one part is definitely the coding skills and the teamwork they have to do there. But we have the various partners who will be future employers, and with them we are organizing different kind of workshops, talks, so to make sure that our students, in addition to their coding knowledge, they're also like decent human beings, so that they learn how to work in a team, they learn empathy, so when they actually go to work at our partners, they are the kind of employees that they are looking for. So yeah, this kind of additional workshops for soft skills is definitely something that we have added to the program.
Fantastic.
But I think already just encouraging and enforcing lots of teamwork will do so much of it. You know, I think back to when I went to school, that was never spoken about. I don't think it's that much better now. So I just think that actually reflects the reality of what happens at a workplace much more, and just people learning to work in different teams will acquire lots of these skills.
Yeah, I agree. Now I just see 3 minutes. If anybody has a question they would like to ask, because I could see with my glasses. Because otherwise, I'd have another question. You once said, creating one more wise would be boring. 100 wises, different things. What's next for you, especially when it comes to the education space? What other plans? Scaling this or going even in?
So with the code school, really the question is how do we scale this? We took as our first mission to do this in Estonia. So we started with 200 students last year. This year we'll take 400, and we want to scale this to 1,000 people a year within the next couple of years. So that's kind of the first goal. But similarly, we're already talking with people outside of Estonia who would love a similar school. So it's really about I guess with the school in mind, we should think about how do we get this to 1 million students.
Perfect.
And I think during that there's a lot of work to be done to figure out what is the right format. There's tons of 3 months boot camps, but my experience is that someone coming from a 3-month coding bootcamp, it's far from a person you can hire. University 4 years. The other end, they've learned a lot, but too little practical work, so you still have to train them. So, is it 12 months, 18 months? What's the optimal program? And also, I think the contents will have to change quickly. Like what we'll be needing in 5 and 10 years is going to be very different. So it's a question about just being really dynamic.
Mm-hmm. And one more question for both of you, real quick. How come that Estonia, with 1.3 million inhabitants, was able to produce 10 unicorns? Is education the part of the reason, or would you say it's more in the air? It's the air that we bring?
I would put that down to luck. Mm-hmm. You have to get lucky sometimes as well. And we got lucky in 2 places. One is that after the Soviet Union collapsed, we had the people who came to power had a vision for a modern, democratic, capitalistic society. If you look at many other ex-Soviet countries, it didn't go this well. And second thing is we got lucky that Skype was founded in Estonia. Skype was built in Estonia. Yeah. So when we were building Skype, the startup thing was really not understood. If somebody went to work for Skype, their parents would ask, so what happened? Did the bank not hire you? Were you not good enough for the telecom company? But after the Skype success story, it became normal. And I think we can look at the next companies, Wise, Bolt, Pipedrive. You can trace them all back to Skype. So having that one success story accelerates an ecosystem hugely. So it's very visible that in Estonia, technology has had GDP level impact on a country. So now the question is, how do we have GDP level impact on all of Europe?
Yeah. So as reality rules, I don't want to rely in Germany on our luck. So I think we have to collaborate a lot more and be a lot more quick and ready to make very necessary changes in order to get all of ourselves ready for the future. With that, thank you very much. We have 7 seconds to go. Thank you.